Okay, that it said I'm lost connection, guys. Sorry about that technical difficulties. I think it was on my side. But anyway, happy Tuesday, happy election day, Pearson. It's like a national holiday. Are your
We're at the end of it, thank God.
are your kids out of school today?
No, no, no. Life goes on. And technically, my wife and I voted about 3 days ago.
Yeah, me too. I voted
3 weekdays ago. I should rephrase that. They don't have weekend voting.
yeah, I think they do in Houston, but either way, I did it last week or whatever when my kids were home for college.
Yeah,
But
they're saying a lot of people voted early though, like surprising numbers. I think in the state of Georgia, they're saying already about 4 million people voted before today.
wow, wow, that's actually amazing. Who want to stand in lines and go through all of that rigmarole and all of that type of stuff? But I am so glad that everybody is here with us. Welcome to the Rig on Wheels show featuring MVT. I am your host, Camille E. Gaines. I am also the CEO of Rig on Wheels, broker and recruitment services. And of course, we got Pearson, and that's what we call him, everybody that loves them. He is the VP of recruiting over there at Mesilla Valley. And this is your first and only truck driver recruitment show. We're here. We bring you all the trucking insights, news, good and bad and ugly. Your hot jobs. We got some good hot jobs now. I was trying to get Pearson to tell me some undercover stuff. He won't tell me. I was trying to pay him off. My pockets aren't deep enough, I guess. And then also, we also give tips. We give tips to the drivers and we give tips to recruiters as well. So stick around because we want to jump right into news immediately. Why don't we talk about freight? Let's talk about some freight. I feel like stuff is getting moving and shaking.
Yeah, I will say this from a recruiting perspective. If you are going to make a jump this year and you're going to go to a new carrier, the key is to get it done within the next week or two. The worst time of year to potentially jump ship from one company to the next is Thanksgiving through Christmas. Just historically, it's the busiest part of the year for most of the niches in our industry. And we'll go into that a little bit on the freight side here, but it becomes a call to action that if you are going to make a change or you're thinking about making a change or going on to a different carrier, now is the time to act. There is a cost as a driver when you switch from one company to the next. Plus, you need a little time to get acquainted into your new employer. And this will kind of see where that's starting to go. If you look at current freight rates right now, the spot market on dry van sitting at $2 a mile, contract rate at $2.35. One of the things that's interesting on the dry van side is if you look at October, the load to truck ratio was about 4.1 to 1. That's up versus last year that was 3.0 to 1. So we've seen an entire load created above and beyond. Flatbed sitting at 239, 309 on contracted rates. Reefer it's 241, 269 on contracted rates. If we go into that, one of the things that you can read through DAT is for the week of October 28th through November 3rd, truckload capacity tightened in major California produce markets last week, leading to higher reefer load to truck ratios. The trend is likely to continue pushing rates higher as Christmas trees and food items ship ahead of Thanksgiving. One of the things that's interesting, you can really take a look at If you look at the states of Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, Arizona, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, New Mexico, Arizona, all those states are at a 5.5 to 1 or greater ratio of loads to available trucks. What that generally indicates is you have a lot of trucks having trouble getting to the West Coast because there's not enough freight going to the West Coast, i.e., you then have a disproportionate number of loads trying to leave the West Coast. So you'll see that influence a lot by reefer trucks. Reefer trailers will take non-reefer loads back to the West Coast. So some of the rates going towards the West are suppressed at this moment, while the rates coming out of the West are increased. On the flip side, we have a disproportionate level of low freight volumes in the Southeast. So if you look at Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, all those are at about a 1.1 to 2.5 load to one to truck ratio. So we see a lot of trucks trying to get into the West to get freight where it's hot. We see a lot of trucks once they go to the Southeast struggling to get out of the Southeast. That is where we talk a lot on this channel here as far as having contracted direct customer freight. If you rely on the spot market, it's how you get stuck in Florida for a day waiting on a load. Where if you already have the direct customer lined up, your load is already waiting for you as you get ready to leave the market. So it's one of the things right now that if you're with a carrier that relies heavily on the spot market, or you're at a smaller carrier that is heavily dependent on the spot market, once you get to the West Coast, freight's great. Getting to the West Coast is a challenge. Once you get to the Southeast, getting out of the Southeast right now appears to be where a lot of carriers are struggling at this moment.
Yeah, and being educated and knowing how to do that is pretty important. And having people that are knowledgeable on your team is what the importance is right there. So,
Yeah, and our objective with any of the divisions, later on we'll talk about hot jobs, but our objective is to overbook on every division that we have. We generally want to have multiple options available because we know life will happen.
yeah,
Loads get canceled, weather events take place, and ideally, we're normally trying to book a driver out 2 to 3 days in advance. A lets us know when that driver is going to get home, which is really important, having that consistent schedule. And B, the consistency of the freight and having a backup. So if something doesn't go right in those 2 to 3 days, you still have time to adapt and adjust and keep your professional driver on the road busy and productive. It's how you maximize the use of the equipment, you maximize the driver's hours, and ultimately you have a driver that has a consistent check from week in, week out.
absolutely. So what I pulled up was the diesel. Okay, so we got a drop of 3.7. So we're at $3.53 cents a gallon on average. So this is definitely the second time this year that we've had consecutive 7 weeks in a row. But this seems like a pattern for a little while. How long you think that this drop is going to be happening?
I think it will get impacted by the results of today. Generally speaking, post presidential election, and there's always short term adjustments. Both the stock market and fuel prices will get impacted by where people think the economy is going to go. It's not necessarily a Republican versus Democrat thing, because if you remember back in
Yeah.
2016, the stock market tanked after Trump was elected before eventually going right back up because they were expecting a certain thing.
Right.
And uncertainty more than anything else, more than it being a Republican or a Democrat, the market responds negatively to uncertainty. I would anticipate that we'll see a blip for about a week, either down or up, but most likely it stabilizes. Fuel consumption right now is down.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that has been pretty consistent, that fuel is being less utilized than it was this time last year. So I don't see there being a major spike upwards, thankfully.
Yeah, and speaking of this time last year, it's 83 cents lower than it was this time last year. And like we always like to point out that all people in our industry don't just use diesel, so we want to throw gas in there. So that has dropped almost 3 cents. So it's dropped 2.8 cents. So they're at an average of $3.06 a gallon, and that is also a decrease of less. It basically we are less, almost 33 cents less than this time last year. So that's a lot. Now, as much as I feel like we are so far off from the January 15th of the longshoremen going to be striking again, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? Yesterday, our good neighbors north of us in Canada, they started striking. So the lockout details start happening. So the British Columbia Unionized Workers did that. They stopped operations at the busiest ports, followed by the notice of 72 hours before then. And the shutdown is going to cost almost 800 billion Canadian dollars, which is equivalent to 576 of our type of dollars. And it's impacting goods like containers, steel, automobiles, and more. Of course, that's going to be substantial uh, setbacks. Uh, they had one back in last year that lasted almost 2 weeks. And of course, I want to go over what their demands are: wages, uh, benefits, and job security. Because the same thing that are here, because it's international. So that is what they're looking for. They don't want to deal with automation. They're making a lot of money and all of that. And it is going to, or yeah, it will affect because they're part of North America, which
it's
like this.
the Canadian economy has gone through a lot of what the U.S. has. They deal with the same turmoil that we do. They have the liberal and conservative party. There's a lot of similarities between the U.S. and Canada. And so they're still dealing with the fact that the cost of living over the past 3 to 4 years post-COVID has gone up substantially, and what was viewed as a well-paying job is now middle of the road. And so it's going to be an interesting time, not just for our economy, but their economy as well. There's always similarities. Their economy is heavily dependent on our economy, and to a lesser extent, we are impacted by their economy as well, depending on the niche of the industry that we're talking about. With that said, hopefully it gets alleviated fairly soon. Our economies tend to trail each other.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in our best interest if Canada is doing well, chances are the U.S. is doing well and vice versa.
Right. Freightways has an article that they put out yesterday as far as the state of the freight and election to strongly impact the freight economy. So I kind of, just summed up a few things of, how the changes might impact the regulation of transportation, increase the cost for the different trucking companies because of clean energy bills or tariffs that another candidate. What do you think?
I'll be honest. I think that what we talked about last week, Bob Castillo with the ATA probably did a pretty good job of illuminating the next 12 months. I see year over year, month over month, us improving, January, February, et cetera, but it's not going to be exacerbated. And we probably see a lot of acquisitions or purchases over the first 6 months of 2025 because there's flux, and this lull in the freight economy has been ongoing really for the past 18 plus months. And at a certain point, people run out of cash. It doesn't just impact your small mom and pops, but you'll probably see some fairly larger companies get acquired, merged, go out of business over the next 12 months. In particular, the first half of 2025. I think by the end of 2025, it will feel dramatically different. But that 6 months, if you're at a company that is running very tight, not making a profit, and haven't made a profit in a year and a half plus, at a certain point, it becomes advantageous to merge. And so I see us most likely having those conversations. The other thing from a regulatory standpoint is it's normally not the regulation that puts somebody a bit out of business on the spot. It's that they were already in a weakened spot that it becomes the straw that broke the camel's back. So I think some of this is going to exacerbate it. But yeah, I see you and I starting this week, starting this show off every week in the first half of the year, probably going, hey, this company got purchased, or this company is going out of business, or this company's reaping the benefits of a previous bankruptcy. We talk about it a little bit with some of the growth that Saya's experienced this year. Saya probably doesn't have that same growth if Yellow doesn't go bankrupt. So I see us having a lot of those discussions in this little spider web that we weave as an industry.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I do think it's going to significantly influence either way because both of the candidates have policies that will affect. So depending on what type of freight you're moving, whether you're going to be affected with tariffs or not, whether you're part of the infrastructure type of policies, whether you're on the clean energy. However, but what I do foresee and I have seen in the last couple of days, it's a movement. And I am full of energy even today. I feel like I'm drinking a monster drink.
Well, one of the things I'm encouraged about today, if you look at the stock market today, again, it's not a clear-cut election. I've seen literally, I can't tell you who's going to win. I've seen mixed results on that.
Yeah.
I think it's transitional. I am a little concerned with the election, how women are voting versus men seems to be about a 34% gap.
Yeah.
That concerns me just a little bit because that would be record setting. I think there's clear-cut reasons for that, but I think that that's really concerning because we are pretty much at this point heavily relying on each other, both men and women. That kind of passed some time ago. So that concerns me a lot. But if you look at the stock market, Dow Jones right now is up a percentage point. NASDAQ's up about 1.5, S&P about 1.25. So the stock market seems to be fairly level, which on a day like today seems a little unusual that the stock market is optimistic going into the day. Because Vegas, I can tell you, seems confused right now, depending on which source you look at as who's going to win.
Yeah, I saw that they're definitely confused, which is different. This is going to make me seem like a cold capitalist, but you know, what the heck? My daughter said that her passion was children and my passion was trucks. So I don't know how to take that. So I'm just going to be who I am. Regardless of who I want to win, what I am enjoying is the fight because I think it's done something to our freight or our economy or something because we're really getting some movement. Something is happening here in the water.
I think it's I really believe it's seasonal though. It feels like it, but it was much more robust 2 years ago with the
Yeah.
same time frame. Now again, the supply chain was still correcting itself post COVID at that point as well. Um, I think that the key right now for any trucking company, and this goes for the driver in that discussion earlier, where if you're going to make a change, you do it now.
Yeah.
Because it is not the time of year to be taking a week off. It is not the time of year to by any means. This is the time of year that you make your money and prepare for January, February, which are traditionally our slower months. So I think it's going to be interesting to see the participation rate of the drivers at this point. It's been a tough year, and you have a lot of drivers that have not taken PTO this year that have literally continued to work because the freight's forced them to. My honest conversation with most drivers is the next 2 months are probably going to be very robust for us. It is not the time pardon the pun, to let off the gas. Now is the time to reap those benefits and prepare for the first half of the year to be somewhat slow as an industry.
Yeah, I hope we are not going to be slow. That depressed me.
It's January and February. We'll be slower. I don't know that we'll be as slow as we were this past January and February as an industry. But this is why when you see that there's the opportunity to make money, it's why I tell drivers, if you're going to change jobs, the time to do it as you go into the last part of the year is that first week or second week of November. Because if you wait till the middle of December, you are literally costing yourself a week of money.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So if you have to, it is what it is. But let's get you going right now. Let's get things going right now. Well, with that saying, I'm so excited with everything that you kind of been telling us about. And even though I couldn't pay you off, but that's coming. One day I am going to be able to pay Pearson off. That's a financial goal. So Kayla, if you could take us to commercial, because we want to come back and talk about these hot jobs.
Hello, everybody. I'm DeAnthony Davis. I'm a truck driver from Cleveland, Texas. I've been driving for 3.5 years now. I recently saw a podcast with Rig on Wheels on YouTube. I gave them a call. They was fast. They was efficient. They helped me out. I didn't really want to be over the road, so they got me a good reasonable job. And hey, you should give them a call.
Thank you for coming back. I am still coughing from last week, so I definitely apologize to everybody.
Yeah, I was going to ask, because I got a couple questions from last week. You sound significantly better. How you feeling?
I feel better. I think I was just hot toddy, Mucinex, trying to just get it up off of me.
Well, you are definitely in trucking, because I can tell you when you're in the world of trucking, you don't really get true sick days. And so I appreciate that fact. You earned your I would say trailer wings. I don't know what the exact term would be, but you definitely suffered through it for last week.
Yeah, last week I forgot. For everybody that has come back from last week I forgot my name. But that's okay. This week I remembered who I was. That's it. That's all that matters. It wasn't 2 weeks in a row. But Kayla, if you can put up a job, we are ready to roll.
Got some exciting things going on. We're going to talk about 4 of our divisions today, plus some other hiring opportunities that we generally have. Presently looking for drivers out of Albuquerque, El Paso, or DFW for for solo drivers. These drivers run traditionally on I-40, I-20, I-20, I-30. We hit places like Southern California, the Colorado Front Range, the Tennessee Valley area, going back towards our central running area of DFW, El Paso, and Albuquerque. A lot of exciting freight opportunities, a really good customer base on this. The average solo driver on this makes anywhere between $1,100 to $1,300 a week, weekly home time. Very good direct customer freight. We also have opportunities in the similar division for team drivers on Division 110. For team drivers, we hire Albuquerque, El Paso, DFW, Memphis, and Nashville. Your average team drivers on this make anywhere between $3,600 to $4,000 a week. A lot of drop and hook, direct customer freight, weekly home time. And so a lot of opportunities here. Generally, depending on where you live, you're either going to do orientation out of El Paso. If you're a team out of Memphis and Nashville, you would do orientation out of Nashville, Tennessee. Kayla, let's go to the next division if you don't mind. We're going to go to Division 329. We continue to grow rapidly in this division. 329 is what we refer to as our Texas Regional Division. A lot of good customers, a lot of drop and hook. almost 80% drop and hook on these opportunities, making anywhere between $1,200 to $1,800 a week, depending on experience level. Real nice opportunity here where you'll see customers like IKEA, Starbucks, Container Store, Home Depot, Lowe's, and many other direct customers, at least 20 of them, multiple customers that we've done business with more than a decade at this point. So it's Texas regional. You're never more than a day from home. We do hiring out of Houston, DFW, San Antonio, Laredo, Texas. So you'll either do orientation out of Laredo, Texas, or out of El Paso. Again, really strong, consistent pay, weekly home time, never more than a day from the house. One of our favorite divisions, we had about 8 people this week join us for this particular division, 9 the previous week. We still have about 25 openings that we have more than enough freight to cover for those drivers. But the positions are going quick. We anticipate having all the positions filled within the next 2 weeks. So if you're going to act on this, we most likely close down hiring on this division in about 2 weeks. So now is the time to act on it, as we should be fully staffed at the rate we're going within 2 weeks. So you'll want to hurry up and get your application in to rigonwheels.com quickly for this division. Kayla, next. And let's talk about Division 410. Division 410 cover a lot of the Tennessee Valley area, the Southeast U.S., the Midwest U.S., or Southern Great Lakes states. Currently hiring out of Nashville, Tennessee, Lexington, Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, averaging about $1,600 to $1,700 a week. Average driver on this is averaging about $85,000 a year, not including productivity bonuses that we do on this monthly, where you can earn anywhere between 2 cents to 5 cents on all your miles on top of what you'd normally earn, just by being on time and being available when it's time to leave the house. Good opportunities on this. Orientation would take place out of Nashville, Tennessee. We have about 8 openings for this particular division, Division 410. A lot of routine customers. We have some expansive opportunities in this division with companies like Cracker Barrel, Lowe's, and a whole bunch of others. And so with feedback on this, we have 8 positions available. Once I have those 8 filled, probably closing down the division for the rest of the year in terms of hiring, as we'll be fully staffed. So if you're going to jump on it right now. Orientation would take place out of Nashville, Tennessee. We do orientation out of Nashville and El Paso every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Friday. And then we have an orientation in Laredo that we do every Tuesday, Wednesday. You're going to want to act on that, though, because once the 8 positions are filled, we're probably closing this one down as well. Next division, please. And lastly, my favorite divisions, the division I refer to as the stress-free division. If you live in Jacksonville, you know it. They send you to Atlanta, or they want to send you to I-95. This is pure I-10 all the way to Houston. Houston going down to Laredo, and Laredo back to Jacksonville. On the same roads. Don't let that line fool you and make you think that we've created a bridge over the Gulf of Mexico. But it goes Jacksonville, Houston, Houston, Laredo, and then Laredo back to Jacksonville, averaging $1,100 to $1,300 a week. We still have about 5 to 6 openings on this division, hoping to have that filled over the next week and a half. The key is, again, to act quickly on this division. Biggest account on this is Lowe's. It's not the only account, but it makes up a good portion of this out of Valdosta, Georgia. They continue to give us more freight out of there. And with the recent events of the hurricanes that hit Florida, Lowe's is promising to be busy over the next 6 months as they try to adjust that. This is one of those divisions. We talked about the imbalance of freight coming out of the Southeast. Because of the customers and direct customers that we have, we should stay busy on this when many other people in the Southeast U.S. are struggling to get out of Jacksonville right now. And we're confident on that because we do a great job for our customer. I can tell you that we're 99.1% on time on this particular division, which generally gets you into new customers. Again, that's $1,100 to $1,300 a week. Good miles, home every 4.5 to 5 days. Have a nice facility there in Jacksonville. Orientation would take place out of Laredo, Texas, so that you're able to leave orientation on your way back to Jacksonville so you can ultimately load up your truck. Kayla, I appreciate you showing the divisions. Guys, we have a whole bunch of other opportunities. We hire in places like Portland, Oregon, Salt Lake City, Utah, Phoenix, Albuquerque, Denver, El Paso, Las Cruces, New Mexico, DFW, San Antonio, Laredo, Houston, St. Louis, Nashville, Memphis, Jacksonville. and a few other markets beyond just that. If any of these jobs interest you, or you didn't hear a market that we currently hire in, fine folks at Rig on Wheels have about 40 other clients that they work with, ultimately wanting to combine your wants and your needs with your next career opportunity that's going to give you a long-term career path. So if any of our jobs at MVT interest you, or any other possible opportunities that you're looking for, instead of talking to 8 other recruiters, just call 281-968-3100. That's 281-968-3100, or visit rigonwheels.com. Have that conversation and stop job hopping. Look for the job that ultimately is going to give you a long-term career path. I'm hopeful for MVT.
We wanted to be MVT as well. Now we got some questions that Kayla said came in about teams, and it's quite a few. So instead of like going through each question, let's just talk about teams, right? Because I know MVT loves teams. So let's just kind of talk about them. So what divisions will take teams? Is it all of them?
No, we have 5 divisions that specifically tend to do really well for teams, and ultimately teams cannot run off a solo freight. So I know I've see a lot of carriers try to take a team and go, well, I can run twice as much freight, but if you don't have expedited freight, you really end up running a glorified super solo where you get it. And there's a lot of teams that have experienced that, where they go to a company and the team's averaging 3,800 to 4,000 miles a week, which is not the miles that a team's going to need to run in order to make it palatable for 2 people running a truck. So what we do is we have divisions that we have specifically expedited freight, or we have divisions where there's enough drop and hook that ultimately a local driver is doing that final move so that that team can hook up to the next load and get going. One's Division 110 that we talked about today. Again, all of our divisions on a team-wise average about $3,600 to $4,000 a week. So Division 110 is one of those. We have a division called 330 that we've opened up for teams that runs a lot from South Texas on up to the Midwest and back again. So for 330 out of markets like Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, Laredo, San Antonio, have a lot of opportunities for teams in what a division we'd call 330. We have our 2 triangle divisions. And so we have a division called 300 that goes El Paso to DFW, Denver, back to El Paso. Because of the drop and hook in that triangle, teams tend to do fairly well. We have the reverse of that, which we call 200, which goes El Paso, Southern California, Salt Lake City, or Denver, and then back down into El Paso, where teams tend to do well on those 2 triangle divisions. Lastly, we have a division called 440, which is currently being redeveloped a little bit here, but we'll share that most likely next week on this very show, where 440 will take a team out of DFW, Houston, San Antonio, Laredo, send them up towards Tennessee or over towards Miami, Florida, and then back into Texas. So it tends to give them home time where they run that loop twice before they have their long-term home time to reset their hours. So we have some opportunities there. The key for us is the optimum markets for us to hire teams would be Albuquerque, El Paso, DFW, Houston, San Antonio, and Laredo. Those are the spots that we have expedited freight that we either have 1 to multiple options available to where a team's going to make really good money, and we'll have expedited freight to let them run as an actual team.
Awesome. That was great. Another thing is, let's talk about this, and we get this a lot, but because we're really talking about teams, let's talk about it. So we have a driver that doesn't have 6 months. How minimum experience can they have in order for a more experienced driver of 18 months to come and mentor them?
Yeah, so if you live in any of the markets that we hire out of, you as a new driver coming out of school will not run as a true team, because that trainer or mentor is training you up. And ultimately, you may stay as a team and you may go as a solo driver. But the nice thing there is if you get into the trucking industry, a lot of times you don't want to be trained by just anybody. You want to be trained by a driver that you know. It could be a family member, it could be a friend. If that mentor in the relationship has 18 months of experience, no tickets, no accidents in the last 3 years, they are able to utilize their experience to train you the right way into the industry. So we can take a recent grad from any of the markets that we hire out of. And if they have, hey, I'd like my brother or my dad or my mom to train me, tends to be a nice relationship. One comes on as the mentor, one comes on as the student or inexperienced driver in this particular case, and can get themselves up to that 6 months of experience to where at that point they can either stay as a team or go out on their own as a solo driver. The key is if you're a recent grad, is to have an ELDT certificate. So not all schools are created equal. Most reputable large schools will give you what's called an ELDT. It is a certificate of training that you completed it, that you got it. As long as you have that, which most of your major trucking schools in this country will provide that.
Perfect. Love it.
And I will say that the nice thing with that is if you go to certain carriers, we don't do this, but if you go to certain carriers that take you out of school, they will promise to pay and they will pay for that schooling. But the challenge is you may be needing to sign a contract. And if you sign a contract, for lack of a better term, you realistically become an indentured servant. They make it very, very tough for you to then go in. So, like if you sign up at XYZ Trucking or Acme something or other, and you don't like it, and you feel that you have a bad work environment, you're not making any money, and all of a sudden you try to go to another company, some of those companies will go, no, if you go someplace, we'll sue them because they are targeting our drivers. I don't think it's necessarily right. It's one of the weird things in this industry. And there's a few other industries that have similar problems. But I will tell anybody that if you come with any trucking company outside of school and you're forced to sign a contract and commit that you have to stay, and I get why they do it. They probably spent really big money on you. So they're trying to make their money back. But you get stuck. And at that point, if you want to stick around in the industry, you're having to complete a bad deal. With this, you don't do that. Yes, you do pay for your schooling up front. I will say that if you're in the military, though, and you're leaving the military, definitely work with the VA between the GI Bill and a number of other opportunities. You do not need to pay for the trucking school. Additionally, there are surprising numbers of ways to pay for trucking school in terms of essentially scholarships that are available out there. If you do a quick Google search in your area, there's normally in any major metropolitan area about 4 to 5 different options available to you in terms of paying for your school and not being committed like that.
Love it. I think let me make sure that you covered everything. Yep. Looks like you covered everything.
The mentorship program works well. And we've had mentors that really enjoy training. Where a lot of our actual trainers have come from is we've had people that started out mentoring a relative, found they were good at it, found that they enjoyed doing it, and ended up going, you know what, I'd kind of like to do this again. And so a big percentage of the 100+ mentors that we have came from where they started basically training a relative and deciding that they enjoyed doing it.
Absolutely. And that's what I wanted to talk about, that because teams are always a big deal. Teams, we love teams. I know MVT loves teams. So I just wanted to go through all of that. But I also wanted to explain the mentorship program that you all have, because it is definitely unique, and the fact that you don't have to sign your life away.
Yep.
I like that aspect of it as well.
Now, with that said, it's one of the things that we're excited about. If you look at the people that we do take that are inexperienced or have less than that 6 months of experience, traditionally, what this industry refers to as student hiring, traditionally, a lot of companies have turnover rates of 150 to 200%.
Yeah.
I can tell you we don't. Our lowest turnover rate of any of the experience levels that we bring into the company, our lowest turnover rate is actually the people that we bring on that come right out of school. So not only do they get started well here, but they tend to stay, which is one of the things that encourages us in expanding that mentorship program.
Yeah, that means that you all actually listened to what was needed and why, and the generation as far as it's coming into. I actually did a podcast about this. Listen to the generation that's coming into the trucking industry and what they're needing. That's
Yep.
is very important. So with saying that, Kayla, can you do the commercial with Joe showing the inside of the truck? Because we really want to see the intricate details of the truck and what it looks like so everybody can see how big it is.
At Mesilla Valley Transportation, every driver is behind the wheel of a late model International LT, a truck that takes comfort, convenience, and safety to a whole new level. Join us as we explore the impressive features of this powerhouse on wheels. The open road is full of surprises, and sometimes that includes unexpected encounters with wildlife. But worry not, the International LT has you covered. The front end protection guard offers an extra layer of defense, protecting you from animal strikes. Drive with confidence, knowing that you're shielded from the unexpected. We all know how important it is to keep our batteries charged, and our International LTs have your back. The Cummins X15 is equipped with an auto start feature, ensuring that your batteries are automatically recharged when they run low on volts. It's a seamless process that keeps you powered up and ready to hit the road. Disc brakes and an engine brake provide reliable and safe stopping power when you need it most. You can have peace of mind knowing that you're in control. Safety is at the forefront of what we do. Our International LTs are equipped with top-of-the-line safety features to ensure your well-being while out on the road. These tractors are equipped with Bendix fusion protection, collision mitigation, and lane departure warning. Achieving good fuel efficiency deserves recognition. With the International LT, your efforts don't go unnoticed. When you consistently achieve impressive miles per gallon, the International LT rewards you with increased speed. It's a little extra motivation to keep you pushing for better fuel economy. After a long drive, you're ready for a well-deserved break. With the International LT, you can enjoy your rest period in absolute comfort. Thanks to its auxiliary power unit, you can keep the driver's cabin heated or cooled just the way you like it. No matter the weather outside, you'll always find your sweet spot within our International LTs. The International LT understands that comfort extends beyond driving. It's a space where you can truly feel at home. I'm a big guy, and I have room to move around in here. With plenty of room to spare, the International LT accommodates even the tallest drivers. And there's ample storage for all your clothes, cooking essentials, and tools, making life on the road even more convenient. Speaking of cooking, bring along your appliances and don't sacrifice any luxuries thanks to all of our International LTs being equipped with built-in inverters. Dry your hair, make a smoothie, or play a game, all from the comfort of your truck. We take pride in our well-maintained fleet. And if by chance you do come across something wrong on your truck, you're never far from help thanks to our valuable relationship with Penske. With more than 750 brick and mortar Penske shops nationwide, their expert team is always ready to assist you. From routine maintenance to unexpected repairs, they'll get you taken care of and back on the road in no time. And there you have it. Just a few things about this late model International LT that make MVT the place to be.
That's awesome. Because, it shows, even with the solo driver, it's the same trucks. But because we were talking about teams, I wanted to show how large the inside of the condo was and how much space that you actually have. So, of course, was saying that you see how much space that you have if you're solo, and everybody sees that Joe is a tall human. He's like my son. He's like 6'5". So you have a lot of space in the cab. That's good.
Yeah, it's extremely spacious. Part of being successful as a driver is you have to have the equipment to do the job. And most carriers out there will brag and say we got great equipment. We can point to numerous facts that we actually do. They're late model. Generally, they're going to be average about a year and a half old. They're built. All the trucks are built for teams, and so you have a 71-inch sleeper berth where it's standard of 56. You're fully able to stand up. You're able to move around. You have ample storage space. You are comfortable, despite the fact that you run regionally and get home pretty often. on a set home schedule, you have an OTR truck. You're able to move around, have space, have your belongings with you. There's multiple outlets available, so you can run a blender, a TV, or a refrigerator. I've watched people in there playing gaming systems on a big screen TV, of all things. So that's all available to you. It's well maintained. You leave orientation with a detailed truck that has been cleaned and signed off on from top to bottom. It comes with an APU unit that allows you to be comfortable in the truck routinely. Plus, during orientation, we provide you with the training on how to utilize that APU to get the most out of it and ensure that nothing ever goes wrong with the APU. And so we prepare you on the road for the equipment that you get. Additionally, more than anything, we partner with Penske on these trucks. So God forbid if something ever does go wrong, you are never that far away from a Penske location. We have deals with them that if you get breakdown, they will come get you. If your truck's going to take multiple days to fix, if something could go wrong, they will provide a loaner, the same type of truck, to allow you to keep moving and make your way back on the engineered lane to then get into your original truck. So we have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D to take care of all those things along the way. So the Big Blue Beasts are great trucks, internationals, Cummins engines. The LTs are fantastic. And they're part of why we get great fuel economy. So we give you the resource to be successful. It's one thing to tell a driver, hey, you're in a truck and you got freight, go. It's another thing to then provide the resources for the driver to be successful. So ultimately they can feature their skill set on the road.
Love it. I absolutely love it. So if you are wanting to drive one of the Blue Beasts, make sure you give us a call at 281-968-3100, 281-968-3100, or go directly to the website at rigonwheels.com and complete the driver application, auto-populated, and we'll get back to you same day or next day. Definitely. So what I want to do is go to the commercial where it is the driver appreciation. It is something that I don't know any other company. I'm not going to say there isn't one, but I don't know of any other company that has a quarterly appreciation where it's a whole big old shindig. Josue, which is our internal recruiter, he only has recruited for MVT, so he wasn't aware that there sometimes are carriers that have driver appreciation where there are no drivers and all of this type of thing. So when I have him on the show and I ask all of these questions when Pearson isn't there and I try to trick him and all of this, it just doesn't work. And he just says all the right things. So if you can play the one where the guys, with the barbecue and make me hungry because I haven't eaten yet. Okay, y'all. Fourth quarter driver appreciation for MVT is going to be November 27th. So isn't that like the day before Turkey Day, right?
Yep.
So it is November 27th. It's going to either be in El Paso, Hutchins, Texas.
Hutchins.
Okay, yeah, that word. Right outside of Dallas. Y'all don't all get all mad at me or whatever because I'm not pronouncing it right. Laredo, Denver, or Nashville. I hope it is in that name that I can't pronounce because that's only like 3 hours from where I live at. I'm trying to get Pearson to let me know, but apparently my money isn't green enough. So I could just mosey up there and have some food too.
Oh, it's a great event. We love it. We get to see hundreds of our drivers every time we do this. It's where we do the car giveaway for whoever has the best MPG bonus on the fleet for the previous quarter. It's a great chance, though, to physically meet our drivers. Our recruiters and drivers look forward to meeting each other in face-to-face scenarios. Our ownership, our leadership team all get together at these events, and not simply where we're headquartered, but across the country. So it's a great chance to physically see the men and women on the road that are the face of our company. And, we're very honest about it. The driver gets a unique experience. They see the industry that here in our office, we don't have the ability to see the industry the same way. So it's why we're really big on doing it quarterly. It's a chance to take that moment to physically see the people that we work with and our coworkers. We find at too many trucking companies, there's an us versus them mentality. You have office staff and you have drivers. It gives us a much better chance to comb the two together because really we are in this together, not just, as a figure of speech, but literally. And so it kind of forces that relationship to take place. And it's a lot of fun. We have giveaways, great food options available. And honestly, some of the most educational discussions, both from a driver's perspective as well as ours on internally, we end up better off for the experience every quarter that we have it. I suspect that the one we do the day before Thanksgiving this year is going to be probably turkey themed. I just have a feeling, but our marketing team does a really nice job on that.
Yeah, I just like the fact that what's the purpose behind quarterly? Tell me like why.
Well, so there's two things. Most of the industry does their driver appreciation, I believe, in September.
Yeah.
And I just
according
find doing
to
it.
the faces of the road calendar.
Yes, that's correct. But to be honest with you, it seems a little forced. And what I mean by that is it is good to see drivers acknowledged and given their dues. But when it's once a year, I mean, it kind of feels ceremonial. Where this is less ceremonial, it's just more often. It's specifically, it's not a full week, but we get to do it on a quarterly basis. And a lot changes over a year too. So we find from a timing standpoint, we get better visibility. It's less of a token day, and we get to really do it more often. Lastly, the other part of this is you may be on a run that you don't get to see us one of those times. And so, like, if you work at a company that only does it in September, but you're actively making money, if you don't get to attend, do you really want to get on Facebook and see a bunch of pictures of people having fun while you're possibly dealing with a breakdown or a canceled load? Probably not. Right. Statistically speaking, doing it 4 times a year, and because of the nature of the engineered lanes that we run, you are at least once, twice a year going to be going through one of those locations on those engineered lanes to where you can actively participate in one of the driver appreciation events.
And tell us like the background of Royal Jones, because even though I know other companies owners might have the same background, I'm willing to bet because of his background is why these events are quarterly too.
Yeah, I mean, Royal started as a driver. Eventually, with the partnership of another individual, started the company with 5 trucks, and it grew exponentially from there. Royal viewed, honestly, working out of Las Cruces and starting the company as being on vacation because he was home. He was working 16-hour days, but he viewed it as kind of a luxury because he was home. So he understands as a driver how much you value that home time. It's something you appreciate, and it's been part of the foundation of what the company is based on. We're definitely origin and destination driven, and the reason for that is setting up that home time for our drivers. It's why we have some of the equipment that we have. Because we understand we live in both driving bad trucks and good trucks, and understanding that as a driver, it impacts your bottom line, even if it's no fault of your own. If you have bad equipment, you're not going to make money. And it doesn't matter the accessorial pay package you put together. At the end of the day, you still got to move loads from point A to point B if you're going to make money in this industry. The other part of it is the company grew and expanded over the last 42 years. There's been additional companies that got started. We started Vado Speedway, which in Vado, New Mexico, is a speedway that's owned by MVT Holding Company. And part of the knowledge and experience that the company gained from that is why we got passionate about fuel economy. And in an industry that's averaging 6.5 miles a gallon, we're averaging 9 to 9.5 miles per gallon because we took a lot of what was learned from the speedway and have applied it to the trucking side of the business. We have a couple of golf courses that, as the company expanded, those golf courses come in our purview in a couple ways. From a sales perspective and picking up new clients, it's always great to invite someone into town and go, let's catch a round of golf. So there's strategic advantages from a trucking standpoint of having a couple of golf courses. Additionally, it helps us raise money. We do a lot of charitable work with some of our customers, our vendors, our sponsors. So as an example, a couple weekends ago, we had our annual golf charity event, raised $90,000 for a really good local charity in the area that we changed the charity. But all this growth has happened starting with Royal, 5 trucks, going, hey, there's got to be a better way to do this. And ultimately, we've grown from those 5 trucks to come out to about 1,900 drivers at this point, highly diversified business. But our business is still fully centered around that of the driver. It's what we're passionate about. I can tell you, I don't know how many meetings I have been in where if Royal's in the meeting, he's going to go, and what do the drivers think about this? Is kind of that common line that will come out in every meeting. And it shows. It shows based off the productivity of our drivers. We have about 350 drivers on our fleet that have been with us and ran 1 million safe miles. And that's a huge percentage when you look at what it takes to do that in this industry. And look, the next 42 years are probably going to be twice as fun.
Love it. I mean, I love it. I love those are the type of benefits that we hear drivers are wanting. So yep. I love that. So we are at the bottom or the top of the hour, whatever you all want to say, but it is 4:00 p.m. Central Standard Time, and go get out and vote if you haven't done it yet. It is your right, your duty, your everything, all of the things. Anything that you want to say on this Tuesday evening, Mr. Pierce?
Absolutely. I am excited for this election to get over with.
Yes.
So when we get on social media, we can act like we still like each other.
Yes, that would be nice. We can go back to
we do like each other, but you get what I mean metaphorically.
Yes. It's a bit much. But, today I'm just excited. Let's just get, maybe by tomorrow we'll know who our president is, or at least by the end of the week. That's what Caleb predicts, by the end of the week.
Yeah, I'm thinking probably end of the week. I don't know that tonight's going to be as climaxful, or if that's a word, as it was maybe.
I make up words.
If Trump can say bigly, I can say climaxful.
Yeah, whatever. We can make up whatever word we want to make up. It's our world. We work in trucking. Remember?
What's that?
We work in trucking.
Oh, we do. We can do what we want. That's right.
That's it. And we live in Texas. That's it. But yeah, we want everybody to just be safe. It's been wet in a lot of parts of the United States. So just be safe, and like we say in Houston, turn around, don't drown. So it's a real thing here. But yeah, so see you guys next Tuesday, same time at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Bye-bye.